The present study aims to analyze the concept of organizational culture, understanding its relevance in the context of organizations. The relation between organizational culture and organizational communication is also discussed, which present themselves as fundamental elements in the construction and maintenance of organizations. Observing the importance of culture and communication in the organizational context, it becomes important to discuss the relation between both, aiming to understand the influence they exert on each other. With this research, it is intended to answer the question how do organizational culture and organizational communication relate to each other. Organizational culture consists in the vision of the organization in their cultural point of view. So, before starting the presentation and discussion of the concept of organizational culture, it is relevant to present the concept of organization. This term is used to designate companies or institutions of public or private nature. Organizations are cultural phenomena focusing on the production systems of meaning, presenting themselves as socially constructed realities. The organizational culture refers to the modes of action seized by an organizational group. It defines the correct way of thinking and acting in an organization. Culture influences how the organization and its members understand the environment and the changes that operate there, defining their role and the types of individual and collective behavior. Culture gives meaning to organizational reality. It can then be said that organizational culture is intrinsic to the organization and that it cannot be separated from it. Organizational communication refers to the process of creating meaning structures through symbolic practices for achieving organizational goals. The organizing action is a process of communicating. In other words, to organize is to communicate. Communication is very important as it is the central process of organizing. It precedes the establishment of the organization. These are built by communication through symbolic process of creating meaning. It seems then that we can say that organizational culture and organizational communication are interdependent and inherent to the process of organizing. Culture is a communicative creation, and communication is a product of cultural dynamics. The sharing of meanings within an organization is achieved through communication processes. Culture and communication are two concepts that describe different ways in which people understand and attribute meaning. In this sense, one cannot be separated from the other because both are of crucial importance in the functioning of organizations. Communication, as a phenomenon responsible for sharing meanings, is a mechanism that creates and feeds culture. However, the organizational culture is also an important influence on communication of organizations. Any communicative action should be based on assumptions of the culture of the organization. In fact, communication will be the result of the beliefs and values shared within the organization. To conclude, all sharing of meanings and dialogues is realized through communication processes that recognize and renew the organizational culture. Organizational culture is not just another management technique but an active of the organization that is intrinsic to it and reflected in all its aspects. It highlights the centrality of communication in cultural genesis and dynamics. Organizational culture and communication cannot be separated because one is strongly dependent on the other. There is a relation of mutual dependence between these concepts, which make them fundamental in organizations. Thank you for your attention.